Zoe, you have been pretty transparent about how depression got to a pretty serious tipping point in your life and how you were able to bounce back. We all know, I mean, that depression isn't like certain personality types get it more often. There's memes about like, oh, the INFP is always depressed. There's jokes there and stuff like that. But are you kind of able to relate you being an ENFJ and I just recently discovered a three wing four on the Enneagram to sort of kind of that dark spot you're in and then how you bounce back from it?
Yeah, so my perception of like these personality types is whether or not you're prone to something, it can really inform how something like depression shows up in your life because a depressed, three wing four is going to look different than a depressed eight wing nine, or a depressed ENFJ is going to look different than a depressed ISFP. It just manifests differently because of our personalities. So for me, it was interesting to read about ENFJs, and what happens when they experience trauma, like the common response of an ENFJ to trauma. I read about it and it was like reading my own mail. I was like, ooh, this is kind of creepy. I don't like this very much. But typically speaking, ENFJs are like, I wouldn't necessarily call us perfectionists, but like we're driven, we're achievers. We want to help other people. We're leaders. We want to coach and bring value. And so any situation where we feel like we might be a burden or taking away from something or bringing people down, it's like easy to shove that down. So when you're a kid or a teenager and you experience something pretty traumatic, like we don't have to get into like all of the trauma of my life, but like, for example, when I was 14, one of my good friends died super suddenly. She was at school one day and was not the next. And it was just like a freak thing. She had a blood clot and stopped breathing and was gone. And that was like my sophomore year of high school. And I just like the community around me was grieving, and I felt like I needed to be like stronger or like be fine. Like I didn't cry at the funeral. We've been friends since we were 5. Like I felt like such a jerk because I
Yeah.
wasn't, emotional for this, but I just felt like I needed to keep it together. I remember her mom running into me at like a school event a couple months later, and you could just see like the combination of joy and pain in her face, because looking at me was like a reminder of all these sweet things that were good when we were kids and her daughter, and also a reminder of what was lost. And I just like that memory really sticks in my head about like, how can I make people feel better
Hmm.
in a situation? How can I never ever contribute to someone's sadness, and how can I support? So I think it makes me a very empathetic person,
Oh
but
yeah.
I think it also makes me someone who does not share my feelings. I never want to put my negative like emotions on someone else, and I want to try and figure it out for myself. And so repression is real strong in me.
Yeah.
I think because of like the three wing four, I don't know how much you know about the Enneagram, but some of the negative drivers or the stress, the negative narratives in your head are, I am not good enough, and just like shame, like something is wrong with me. And that rattles around in the back of my head all the time. And I want to keep that at bay. I want to keep that hidden. I want to make myself as small as possible so that I can be like my true self. I want to make my true self as small as possible so that I can like personify this like helpful, willing, like happy-go-lucky person and be a support to somebody else. I never ever want to feel like somebody has to. I don't want to be a burden,
Right.
basically.
Right. You don't want to be hassled to someone else. I totally get that. It's definitely an extroverted feeling trait. Now, these sort of things always translate into career, job success, job role. When people come to me, it tends to be more of the NF type, like yourself. They're just kind of searching, or they want to make sure when they're in a job that they're in the right job, or if they're going to get a new job, let's just make sure I'm in the right direction. So, the job you have now, we could talk about that, but have the jobs leading up to now been aligned with the three wing four and the ENFJ?
I think there have always been avenues for me to do that, even if it wasn't like traditionally the careers of, an ENFJ. I think there have been pieces that I've pulled out of it just naturally because my personality goes that way,
Hmm.
that have helped. So, for example, ENFJs are leaders. Like, that's just a natural thing. The way that I approach leadership is like, in high school, when you've got the group project, like, if there's anyone more equipped to be a leader, that like, go for it, take it. I don't have to be the leader, but if it's clear that no one else is going to step up, then I am like stepping up, taking charge. We're getting this done.
Okay.
So I'm a leader when I need to be. And I've found myself in situations where there hasn't been great leadership, where there's like leadership way up here and then this huge gap and then everybody else. And so there is almost like this need for this like mid-tier leader person, whether you have a title or not. Right. And so I found myself throughout my career, I worked at Banana Republic, selling clothes and pushing credit cards. And at 18, I was promoted to a mid-level manager at the store because it was kind of like there was nobody else working hard and like being helpful. So like it was just like, it wasn't that I was super duper qualified. It was just like no one else was doing it. So they were like, Zoe, you're kind of the most obvious choice. So that happened for me there. And then when I was working in finance, kind of the same thing. I found that I really have a passion for like coaching and teaching, not necessarily like lecturing, but one-on-one, just like, hey, let me like give you some strategy. Let me talk you through this. This is a faster way to do this. And so when we had new hires, I was given responsibility to train them, which was really fun. And then they promoted me and they were looking to promote me again. And company politics, they were like, it'll be a really long time before we give you this leadership role because other people are waiting in line. And I was like, okay, so you're saying if I'm more qualified, but someone else has been waiting longer, they will get the promotion over me. They were like, that's exactly what we're telling you. So I left. And that's how I wound up at BombBomb. And it's funny, like ENFJs work in sales. Like they totally do. 3s definitely work in sales. So that's there. Like that makes perfect sense. But I didn't necessarily want to be a closer. I really love the relational aspect of sales. Of course, and so moving into this role in marketing, it's really just transformed to even the role that I accepted. And my boss and I talked about this yesterday. Like, he's like, we hired you to do this one job. And then we found out you have this like weird skill set over here that works really well. And so we're just kind of letting you do that with like LinkedIn and stuff. So that part, like, I love the public relations kind of thing, the teamwork, the collaboration. And those are all traits of an ENFJ. Yes. They just aren't as obvious. Like if you were like a community marketer is an ENFJ, like maybe not, but what I actually get to do in the day-to-day is very in line with that.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned LinkedIn and your stock definitely rising. In terms of, and I view it as like, not so much likes, but comments and just like velocity of your posts. Like you'll post something like recently we were kind of talking about this. It's like, Zoe posted 59 minutes ago and she has like 100 likes. We're like, okay, that is, unless you're in some sort of pod scam, which I don't think you are, like, I definitely think that you are like, people are engaging, and you have comments more than just like likes. So I don't want you to give away any of the secrets, but like, what have you found really works for you in terms of content and getting people to engage with you?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, for one, like I sometimes get frustrated. Like I had a post recently that had like, I don't know, 200 likes and only like 20 comments. And I was like, oh, like that's not the ratio that I want. Like I want more comments. I want more conversation. And sometimes I post stuff that's like a one-liner. So I can't really expect a ton of, conversational engagement. And that's on me. But that's what I think about is like, how can I ask a question or welcome participation in my post? I don't always do it in a really obvious way, but like, is there room for debate? And I don't always love the like agree or disagree type thing, because then it makes you feel like, are you that confident in what you're saying? Right. And I get why people do it, and I've tried it a couple times, but I think I'm moving away from that. It's more so just like, what would you add? Or like, tell me a story about a time. Or like, this is an experience where I failed miserably, and this is like what I learned from it. What else do you think I probably could have done differently? Like just giving people an opening to share their story, to disagree with me without saying, do you disagree with me? Or like, to just like participate in the conversation, because so many people, the way I view it is like, there's like a group of people standing over there. It's like the cool kids table. You like kind of want to be a part of it, but you don't really know if you should like say hi and want to go sit over there. And if one of them turns around and says, hey, Zoe, come sit with me, you're going to jump in. So the more openings, the more you can pull up a chair for someone and say like, hey, join this conversation. I think that you get better engagement. But also I would just say like, friggin' be yourself, talk like a normal person, write like you speak as a human. I mean, you're talking to me right now. I'm sure you can kind of hear my voice in my writing sometimes. I know some of my coworkers say that, but it's going to come across way more genuine. And I also would say, like, this feels really obvious, but seek to provide value and be more positive than not. I've complained about stuff and been like, I hate it when, it's everybody does. But I think the more you can offer strategy, offer insight, be helpful, or like share a time. I like to share stories of like me making a mistake.
Yeah.
Being like, yeah, I did this really dumb thing and it went horribly for me, as would be expected. But this is what I did differently the next time. And this was the result I saw. Like, I think whatever can humanize you is what people want to see. Like, they don't want to see I hate personally going on Instagram and seeing people that I know, like I have friends who are influencers and they're posting these photos in these like beautiful homes. And I'm like, that's not your house. That's an Airbnb that you like know the owner and you go there and take photos sometimes. Like, and I just don't love that. Like, look at my Lambo that I'm renting in Vegas. Like, it's like, it doesn't impress me. It doesn't feel relatable. Like, I have another friend who's kind of an influencer who is the sweetest. She's a mom. And she'll post photos of like her kid, like pulling her hair and like her mascara running down her face. And she's like, this is what parenting looks like some days. And I'm like, yeah, show me more of that. And I think it's the same thing on LinkedIn. We don't want to see I scaled and sold 4 companies and now I'm a quadrillionaire and you should come work for my new Ponzi scheme. Like, nobody wants that. Like, it's not relatable. I can't relate to that person. I can relate to the person who was like, I fell on my face today. Like,
yes.
How's your day going?
I've, in private conversations and in other interviews I've done, I've like the inauthenticity and disingenuousness of LinkedIn comes across. I kind of think the self-deprecating business post, if it's not like, I'm so like, this is depressing, as long as it's not that, it's great. Like, I did a post that, like, sometimes on Fridays, like today, I might just kind of toss out a post that's like kind of off brand just to see what happens. And I was like, not to brag, guys, but I have made 47 cents in ad revenue on my blog. And like, that's funny because people understand writing blogs and like how hard it is to get revenue and just like getting people, like people even click on websites anymore, like that sort of thing. And people were like, great job, Joe. Like, it was sort of like they were playing into it. Like, this is a guy that's like talking about how he made 47 cents, not how he scaled to 470,000 views a month and how he's doing so great and he can do it for you. It's like, okay, that's cool. But that's what I like about this is how business actually goes for most people that write blogs. It's like they get 1 cent a month until and they never get rich off it, maybe.
Oh yeah. I wrote about like, we're a video company. We recorded this like kick-ass webinar. We had the highest attendance of any webinar we had. I was so excited. And then we lost the recording. And I was like, how does a video company lose the recording of like their webinar? And then we had to like, people were expecting it. And I had to write this whole email about like, sorry guys, we literally lost it. Like, I honestly do not know what happened. I'm still trying to figure it out. It was like a Zoom glitch and sort of a miscommunication of who was the host and whatever. It doesn't matter. It's gone. And it was just one of those things where somebody even called it out. They were like, how does a video company lose their video? And I was like, beats me. We're just, I don't know, sometimes I'm an idiot. It happens. Like, I was talking to somebody recently. I guess the last time I cried was in November. So it's been 6 months. And like, which is kind of probably not the healthiest. So anytime I see somebody who's like, I cried today, I'm like, good for you. I'm like rooting for them. Because I sometimes I think I wish I could express my emotions in that way. But it doesn't bother me. I think it really is perception, right? Like, I'll see people post something like that and I know who they are truly, and it doesn't rub me the wrong way. Now, there are definitely people who who will post something and my interactions with them don't necessarily align with their words. And so I tend to be a little bit more skeptical on like, are you posting this for sympathy likes, or are you posting this for, but like, I try my best. I am a J, I am a judger, but I try my best not to read too far into it. Like, especially if I don't have a personal relationship with someone, it's who's to say. But there's some people where I'll read something and I'll be like, yeah, I get it. And other people where I'm like, do you really mean that? Did that really happen? I don't know. Because there have been a ton of studies about how brands benefit from senior level leadership having a voice and being transparent. Like there was this Forbes, there's this Forbes article that said 87% of Americans would return to a business to do business with them, even if they had a negative experience, if there was brand transparency. And
I love Elon Musk because he's also an INTJ and he's super funny and he posts memes all the time. And he's like, you wouldn't think like between him and Bezos being the richest man in the world, like posting like kind of controversial memes on Twitter as like someone that has to report to the board and just like this genius. But I have seen him respond to random people like, hey, Elon, I was on your website and it still says you have this guarantee. Can you fix it? He's like, I'm on it. Like responds straight. But like, I have never seen someone like Bezos ever respond to anybody. Like he's so detached. I'm like, I have more trust with Elon if I were to buy a Tesla than like thinking that I'm going to get a response from Jeff. And when I hear you, like he goes on more like podcasts like Joe Rogan, it's like, that's a relatable person, but there's also people like, you know, probably Bezos would be more like PR would hold water for him before he did anything else. So what do you say to that?
I think that Elon Musk understands personal brand. Like he understands that his value is who he is. It's not, that's why he has 80 bajillion ventures and is successful at everything he touches turns to gold. And it's because of the value of his personal brand. Jeff Bezos doesn't have the same kind of personal brand. Like when he stepped down from Amazon, I was like, cool, bye. Like, I don't care about Jeff Bezos. Elon Musk, I follow him because he has interesting things to say. He's a real person. He's a friggin' genius.
Yeah.
Like, I can't relate to his intellect, but he's relatable as in he's just like, yeah, he's just like a guy, you know? And I think that's the big difference is Jeff Bezos is the CEO of Amazon. And outside of that, I don't think of him as anything. Elon Musk I don't think of him as the CEO of Tesla. I think of him as Elon Musk.
Yeah. That's all you have to say, really. Do you want to let my audience know anything before I let you go?
Follow Joe. Like, follow him. He puts out great content. I've been following him for a while, and I have enjoyed these interviews, so it feels like an honor to be on one.
Yeah, you know, I am very picky, and I either sometimes I'll tell people it's on the show or offline, but I really seek out people that have a community that likes them, that has something to say. There's some people that have to say something, the whole Abraham Lincoln thing, have to say something or have something to say. And and I dubbed you as someone that has something to say. And I'm like, all right, got to have her on the show. It's the only thing I can do. So hopefully,
sometimes I have something to say.
You know, you can't win them all, you know, but I would say everyone needs to, if they're not, I would be surprised if they're not, don't already know who you are, but connect. You have a connect button. You're not a follow person, right?
Yeah. Okay. I try my best to respond to DMs too. Like every so often I come in and there's a few too many and my day job doesn't allow for it. But I actually want to talk to people. So connect with me, message me. Maybe don't pitch me. I mean, you can. I'll give you an answer, but if it's not relevant to me, I'm not going to buy your product. So just know that.
All right, you heard her. Everyone's try to sell her. So I love everything you're about. So Zoe, it was great to have you on the show. And yes, everyone please connect with Zoe. I tried to live without you. Just can't get you.